Hey guys, this is Jason.
And Jeremy.
And we are the Balcony Bros. Now, today we're going to be playing one of our favorite games, Bomberman Act Zero.
Really, one of the hidden gems on the Xbox 360.
And it gets a lot of flack, but I think it's like the Vertigo of video games. People hate it now, but give it like 40 years and they'll start to just really appreciate how good it is, you know?
Yeah, see, the thing that makes it great is...
What the hell? Oh!
Jared, don't touch me! I don't know.
Good? You look tired.
You do look tired.
Is it hard to breathe in there?
And we're joined today by our friend Matt. Matt.
Oh. Whew. Hot in there?
Yeah. Very.
Yeah. You can't hear anything either.
Covers your ears.
It's like a vacuum.
Weird.
So this week on Balcony Bros, for this Fun Fact Friday, that's right, we've renamed it to something that has alliteration.
So alliterative, so many F's.
Slightly better than what we previously called it.
Analysis Friday.
Only slight. But for this Fun Fact Friday, we're going to be going over survival horror games.
Fun.
So we'll get to the video.
Balcony Bros! Fun Fact Friday!
This video we're going to be playing this game called Lone Survivor, which I got at one of the Indie Humble Bundles, and it's a load of fun. I've never beaten it because it's super hard, but super scary and fun. But it's a really good example of survival horror, in my opinion. Now, survival horror as a genre is kind of actually coming back into the mainstream eye a little bit. I mean, we've seen with Amnesia, The Dark Descent, and some of those other kind of indie titles coming out, and Slender, Slender craze.
The thing with like the reemergence of survival horror that's really interesting is that it's like AAA titles diverged away from it and just kind of went to action horror.
Yeah.
And there's this big belief, like, not a lot of people know or experience. I don't know. Oh, Jesus Christ. Like, they don't know like the true definition to survival horror. Like their idea of survival horror is Resident Evil 4, which is a great game, but it's a glorified action game with zombies in it. Oh, Jesus.
So I don't think that any of our viewers are really that out of touch with gaming, but just in case, I'm going to go over what exactly survival horror is. Survival horror video games, usually the character you play as is kind of weak, defenseless.
Often like a fish out of water.
Yeah, you never really have that much of a ability to fight. You're usually pursued by something, some sort of great evil or some sort of horrifying, like, eldritch horror.
I mean, it's usually supernatural or paranormal.
Yeah, but and you might have.
Oh God! Oh, that was genuine. I'm scared.
You might have like weapons or something, but you're never really that good at using them. You might have guns, but you rarely find. Yeah.
Yeah, ammo's really hard to find. It just said exactly what you
said. But what survival horror really boils down to is a lack of information. The game designers don't really give you that much info on exactly what's going on, or exactly what you're supposed to be doing sometimes, or even what kind of creature or spirit or monster is chasing you.
I mean, that's what I always believed was the scariest thing in any type of horror, was just the unknown. Not knowing what's going to happen next is what makes something terrifying. Like when you look in a closet and you can't see past anything. That's what gets the real terror in it.
I know you guys are probably really tired of us bringing film parallels to it, but they're both art forms and you can get used to it. I remember reading, I know I'm sassy, there's a huge difference, or a slight difference rather, between horror and sci-fi, and that is, in horror, you don't know what is causing the horror. Like, you don't know what you're supposed to be afraid of. In sci-fi, conflict or the thing that is chasing you, they know what it is.
Yeah, the way it was described to me is that science fiction is an open door and horror is a closed door. Whereas science fiction tells you everything, or at least tries to, horror tells you nothing. And this is really where the psychological element of these kind of games really comes into play. Good survival horror does not show you what the monsters are, usually.
Yeah.
Usually they keep the evil hidden because your imagination will be able to come up with something that's much more grotesque and much more horrifying to you personally than anything that anyone can really create.
Like in Amnesia, when you're walking and all you see is the silhouette of the monster, you don't know what it really is. You just know that it's really freaking creepy.
Exactly. To bring in another film parallel,
Boom.
because we know you guys
That's
love
two.
it. No, the movie Jaws. Now, Jaws was revolutionary at its time and quite frightening at its time. But one of the big things that made it such a good movie is that you don't actually see the shark until about halfway through.
Right. I mean,
And-
nowadays, thankfully, that's it, because it's goofy as hell.
Yeah, it is goofy as hell, but it's almost scarier to have this sort of unknown horror lurking in the water than when you actually see it. It's like ooh.
Yeah.
But-
Oh, guys! Gonna need a bigger boat, Bert. It's better to leave things up to the viewer's mind because, you know, it's anything we can imagine is probably better than they'll put in the frame or in the game, because then if it's not what we're imagining, we're going to be just inherently disappointed.
Yeah, and the thing is that, like, we know our own fears better than we think we do, and better than anyone else can, so we will be able to play on our own fears more than something we can visually
Right.
see. Now, the monsters in Amnesia are goofy as hell when you look at them.
Oh, yeah.
Like, with their tongues hanging out, and they're just like, hey,
It's like a
They say
cartoon
that.
wolf when he sees a hot girl.
Oh,
His tongue rolls out.
No,
and
they're
flaps
really
on
silly.
the
But what makes them scary is the fact that the game mechanics tell you not to look at them.
floor.
Because if you look at the monsters, it will alert them to your presence.
Does rotting meat do anything?
Yeah,
Yeah,
you use it to
throw it.
distract them.
Yeah, you probably
That's what you should have done.
should have gone back.
Oh,
What you need to do is put the rotting meat down and then hide behind the curtain.
And then he walks past you.
gotcha. I want to take this medicine.
And he goes up and he eats at the rotting meat and he's like, nom, nom, nom.
It's really
And he
cute.
says that.
Another way that survival horror really makes an impact on people is the feeling of the uncanny.
Yeah.
Now, you probably know you've probably heard the term uncanny valley used before.
With like androids, robots, even CGI, where there's just something off about their features that make you realize, okay, this is something I recognize, but it is definitely not human.
Yeah, I recognize this and I understand that it's supposed to be human, but I realize that there's something wrong with it. And therefore I'm uncomfortable in its presence, or I'm uncomfortable looking at it. This is played on a lot in survival horror, especially in the Silent Hill series. Now, for those of you who have not played any of the Silent Hill games, a lot of the enemies in those games are based off of experiences or emotions or something that has happened to the main character that has affected them in some horrifying way.
They're all very like, psychological as opposed to supernatural.
Yeah, well, I mean, it is kind of supernatural.
Yeah, but
but in an amazing way.
yeah.
I think one of the best examples is in Silent Hill 2. Better run away.
Oh, it's real. Okay.
Yeah. In Silent Hill 2, there's a enemy called like the bubble-headed nurse, and they're like, well, obviously they're dressed up like nurses, and they're kind of creepily showing a large amount of cleavage
Yeah.
as well. But their faces are just kind of this mass of flesh and very terrifying looking. But the thing is, like, you recognize that it's something that, like, just the amount of cleavage that is shown is like something that's supposed to, I guess, be erotic in some way.
Yeah.
But just combined with the terror aspects of it, it just it really makes you feel at ease.
That really explains why, like, I mean, a lot of monsters will have the human form, like, you know, zombies or pretty much anything will have a human form because it gives us that slight relatability that instills fear when we see, like, oh, that's something that looks kind of like me and it's murdering all these people. Like, that's terrifying.
Yeah.
Prawn crackers. Gross.
In my opinion, AAA games cannot make survival horror. Survival horror is sort of now laid at the feet of indie games because I feel like they're the only ones that can do it. The reason for this is I think that survival horror relies on bad graphics and clunky controls.
Yeah.
Really, to make a point.
There is just something like not scary about being able to fluidly escape.
Exactly.
No.
That stick.
I mean, it's also a parallel just in movies as well. Like, I mean, like in movies nowadays, the technology is so much better that the horror movies are just complete
gore fest.
Well, they're gore fest, but the thing is, you can't have a clean horror movie or a clean horror game.
Like the low tech horror movie, like your Paranormal Activities, your Blair Witch Project.
Yeah, that's a reason. That's the reason why those are That's the reason why those are keep being made. Well, because they're cheap, first of all.
Yeah.
But because the grittiness of it and the low techness of it does kind of give an air of creepiness.
Yeah, it inspires them to be more creative with.
Which makes it more scary. Which makes it scarier.
Yeah, because they're like, okay, well, you know, our graphics can't exactly do this, so maybe that'll inspire us to do a style much like in Lone Survivor.
Exactly. They didn't have the funding or necessary to create a really, like, graphically crazy game. So instead they make it in this sort of, not really 16-bit, I guess, style.
Yeah.
And it's really low tech, but it works really well.
Like, it helps them get to the core instead of worrying about...
Yeah, you're not focused on how good everything looks.
Yeah.
You're focused on the emotions of your character or the terror of, like, the monsters or not really knowing what's there. Another really good example of this, and I hate reusing games, my examples, but Silent Hill 2. The reason why Silent Hill 2 atmosphere is so creepy is the large amounts of fog that you encounter when you enter Silent Hill. And the reason why they put all that in isn't exactly because they're like, you know, it'd be really creepy.
Fog.
No, the reason why they put that in there is because the PlayStation 1 didn't have the power or the graphical power to show the landscape as they originally wanted it to. So instead they just obscured everything with fog. Usually when you're playing a game and you have clunky, difficult controls, you normally hate it.
Yeah.
But I think in horror games, the more difficult it is for you to get away from something or to fight something, the scarier it's going to be for you.
Yeah.
It's like falling down in a movie.
Yeah, you're like, no, get back up, go.
Exactly.
Five.
But see, I mean, for example, in Slender, Slender was not a really well-made game. Let's be honest. It was really simple, but it was good because of that simplicity. But you're not your character is very slow and very plodding. And you can dash a little bit, but that doesn't last very long, and it's just it's not a very fluid game, but that works for it. That when you see Slender Man off in the distance, it just horrifies you to no end because you cannot get out there. get out of there fast enough.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty much all I have to say, really.
Yeah.
I think that survival horror games hopefully aren't a thing of the past. Hopefully they're going to be brought back up. And it seems like the indie games are really taking over that.
Yeah.
And I think that is because they don't have the graphical power that that AAA games do, and therefore their lack of what is it? Their
Budget?
their lack of budget really causes them to try to cut corners in the most creative ways. Tell us what you think. Do you think that it's possible for a AAA game company to make a moving survival horror, or not? Or are they just stuck in sort of the horror action genre forever?
Let us know down below in the comments.
Yeah.
And anything else you have to say about the topic. Thank you, Matt, for joining us tonight.
No problem.
Goodbye, everybody.